Yo, we're about to talk some trash. It's your man DU. It's your man DU on another Sunday of talking trash. Don't tell me, please don't tell me that intro doesn't get you hyped. Yo, that beat is crazy. My man Dapper Daz made that beat. Matter of fact, shameless plug. If you want some beats, artists, if you want some beats, holla at me. Pokes Out Entertainment. My man Dapper Daz will hook you up. But anyway, before I get started, you know I gotta plug our merchandise site. You can get this black snapback in other colors: white, gray and black, cornerstone snapback, talking trash water bottle, um, whatever you want at our site at Pulsar-Entertainment LLC .mybigcommerce.com. Again, you can get our merchandise at Pulsar-Entertainment LLC .mybigcommerce.com. Hey, somebody tell me if they ever purchased anything from our site. You know what I mean? But come on, let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Game one of the NBA Finals, right? Game one of the NBA Finals. This is what we've been waiting for. Let me know if you're entertained, if you have been entertained so far by these NBA Finals. Yo, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting to see Curry go ham, right? I've been waiting to see Jason Tatum fly through the air. I've been waiting to see Jaylen Brown go chuck, right? Go nut. Jaylen Brown is a nut, right? But all jokes aside, game one of the NBA Finals, Boston won 120-108, right? I'm gonna run down a couple of the scores. You know what some of the players did as far as their points and rebounds. Old man Al Horford. Old man Al Horford had 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Let's talk about Al Horford for a minute. Al Horford, if the Boston Celtics win this series, is most likely going to be the MVP. Right? He's most likely going to be the MVP. Al Horford. Jaylen Brown, 24, 7, and 5. 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Brown propelled Boston to that win. Where Tatum was not producing as far as buckets, Jaylen Brown was coming through. Hold on, let me not stop there. Derek White, 21, 1, and 3. 21 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. But it seemed like Derek White hit every clutch shot. Every bucket that mattered, Derek White made that bucket. Every bucket that Boston needed to come back to win that game, Derek White provided that bucket. Now let me talk about the Warriors. Let me give you a couple of stats on a couple of players from the Warriors. Draymond Green, 4, 11, and 5. Draymond Green had 4 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. Draymond Green couldn't hit a barn with a rock the other night. Draymond Green. If I put a weight, if you could have put a wastebasket and a couple of right next to him and gave him a couple of pieces of papers to throw into a wastebasket right next to him, he couldn't hit it. The shot was off. He was aggressive, but he couldn't throw a rock into a pond. He was off. Then let's talk about the chef. The chef had a 21 point. And when I talk about the chef, I'm talking about Steph Curry. The chef had a 21 point first quarter. He was on fire. Matter of fact, the chef had 34, 5, and 5. 34, 5, and 5. 34 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He was on fire. I was like, yo, he going for 60 tonight. 21 points in the first quarter. I was like, the chef is going for 60 tonight. But instead, at the end of the first quarter, with the Warriors having a comfortable lead, Curry decides, hey, yo, Steph played the whole first quarter. I'm going to sit him down and not bring him back until 6 minutes left in the second quarter. By the time he comes back in the second quarter, he gets 3 fouls, 3, and scores 0 points in the second quarter. And with him getting 3 fouls in the second quarter, he has to sit down. He has to sit down so he won't pick up that fourth, of course. And you can see the momentum shifting, right? The Warriors were still leading, but you can see the momentum shifting. Jordan Poole wasn't doing anything. Jordan Poole was not contributing. Hey, okay, let me give you something on Poole. 9-2-2. Poole was 9-2-2. 9-2-2? Hold up. Let me put this in the chat real quick. Right? I got to put this in the chat. Poole was 9, right? 9, 2, and 2. 9, 2, and 2. What is that? 9, 2, and 2. Jordan Poole. Somebody please help me. Jordan Poole is going through them growing pains. Those growing pains that you get when you don't have any experience playing in games like this that matter. Oh, he was the man. Oh, he was boogieing on everybody during the regular season. But when it came down to the postseason, he's been a shell of himself. Klay Thompson, God bless his soul. 15, 2, and 3. Klay Thompson, God bless his soul, is not the same player. Klay Thompson. So basically what I'm saying is that no one, absolutely no one gave uh Stephen Curry any help as far as the Golden State Warriors is concerned. And let me backtrack a little bit. Wiggins played well. Wiggins played well, but he didn't play well enough for them to win. And it just seemed like what the game shifted. 8 minutes going into that left in that fourth quarter. Horford, old man Al Horford, was hitting all kinds of 3-pointers. Marcus Smart was hitting all kinds of shots. And let's not forget Derek White, because Udoka went with Derek White for a big portion of that third into the fourth. A big portion. Udoka saw that Derek White was cooking and was like, man, I ain't taking this young boy out. Yo, Marcus, you're going to have to sit right there. You the man, but you got to sit right there because Derek White is cooking. And Derek White hit all types of big shots. Tatum had 13 assists, but those 13 assists came about, not that he was actually, like a genius playmaker, but those 13 assists came about with the Boston Celtics hitting shot after shot after shot. So if I'm bringing it down and I hit you for an open jump shot or open 3-pointer and you're just steadily knocking it down, of course those assists are going to pile up. For the Boston Celtics to win this series, Jason Tatum is definitely going to have to play better. Right? Jason Tatum is going to have to be that guy. Now, did I expect Boston to beat Golden State 120-108? Totally dominate them in the fourth quarter? In Golden State's arena? No, I did not. But this Boston team is gritty, full of surprises. Yo, I have to admit, as a Knicks fan, fun to watch. Because, it's almost blasphemous. It's not almost. It's blasphemous. If you're from New York, to wish well on any Boston athletic sport team franchise. You don't want to see them do well. You don't want to see the Red Sox do well. You don't want to see the Patriots. You don't want to see, you don't want to see the Boston Celtics do well. You don't want to see nothing New England as far as sports do well, right? So, but Boston is a tough team. Udoka outcoached Steve Kerr. All that time he spent sitting as an assistant on Popovich's bench, he definitely learned something. Okay. Now let's talk about somebody who's not in the NBA playoffs. We got to talk about my man, your guy, LeBron James, right? Let's talk about LeBron James. And you know what it is. Your man, Billionaire Lebron. Let's talk about Billionaire LeBron. LeBron, oh my God. The report came out that this man is a billionaire. He's the only active NBA player that's a billionaire. it's been like Jordan is a billionaire, but Jordan didn't get to that mark until 2014. And by 2014, we all know Jordan had since been retired. LeBron has been excellence personified on the court, off the court, and in his business ventures. 37 years old, and the man is a billionaire. Salute to LeBron. Salute to LeBron. 1.2. He's worth, it's reported that he's worth 1.2. Take a look at some of his investments. Of course, we all know he grew up poor in Akron to a mother that gave birth to him at 16, right? Some of his businesses are Blake Piece of Chain, Spring Hill Movie and TV Company, the Gym Maker Tonal, and he's invested in Lyft. And let's not forget his NBA contracts. Those are into the hundreds of millions. I believe his NBA contracts has been worth so far in his career somewhat upwards of over 300 million, right? All I gotta say is LeBron is excellence personified, man. What is there to say? What is there to say about LeBron, right? Ain't much that you can't say about this man. Okay, yeah, he didn't make the playoffs this year. But who else you know went to the finals 10 straight seasons? Who else you know made the playoffs 10 straight seasons? LeBron James. LeBron James. LeBron James. Right? But that being said, I want to get into uh talking about the better decade. Right? So we as fans always talk about, could players like LeBron James have played in the 90s when it was rough and tumble, right? In the 80s when it was rough and tumble. And look, I'm here to squash all of that. LeBron could have played in any decade, right? He could have played in any decade. But, like, look, well, and then, talking about the better decade, when I think of the 70s, I think of the time when boxing was really on top. Like, when we had Muhammad Ali, Ernie Shavers, George Foreman. You know, we had we had boxing. Boxing was at a all time high. You had some of the greatest boxers in the that I can remember from the late 70s, right? That led right on into the early 80s because then you had uh, uh, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, and then a young Mike Tyson who just went crazy. We had Larry Holmes, the Spinks brothers, Michael and Leon, right? Um, so boxing was just crazy from the 70s to the 80s. Basketball, uh, Yo, basketball. Look, basketball is not basketball as far as the popularity is concerned that it is now. You know, like in the 70s, if you were, a Knick fan or a Boston Celtic fan or a Laker fan, hey, that was the cream of the crop, right? But um basketball didn't really uh move forward, in my opinion, to greater heights until Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They completely changed the landscape. And and these were one of a kind players, right? From different parts of the country. And then all of a sudden came the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came in, and then, hey, everybody wanted to be like Mike, from a 6'1" guard to a 6'10" center, right? People were jumping through the roof. People have bald heads. People was rocking Jordans. Iverson came through. You had Dominique Wilkins. I mean, it was just a whole bunch of people that followed him, right? Um, and then once Mike that throne, you had Kobe, and you had one of the most dominant centers ever, Shaquille O'Neal, and then of course LeBron came in and took over the reins, right? Um, Baseball, in my opinion, during that Derek Jeter time, baseball was popular 70s, 80s, and 90s. Let's just keep it real. 70s, 80s, and 90s, even that steroid era, baseball was super popular. Mark Aguirre was bat was bigger than a horse. Uh, he was hitting home runs, seemed like every 10 seconds, and baseball was popular. I think, and baseball is still popular. It's not as popular as it was back in the day, but baseball is still baseball, right? Um, but when I talk about the better decade, I saw something that was completely asinine to me, right? I saw Gilbert Arenas on his podcast with Al Harrington. Gilbert Arenas on his podcast with Al Harrington. And I don't know the gentleman that's that does the show with Gilbert Arenas, but they got this segment where it's called "Would They Bust Your Ass?" Right? So he asked Gilbert Arenas, "Hey, would Bob Cousy bust your ass?" So Gilbert said, "Look, these guys was playing against plumbers and electricians. They had part-time jobs. Ain't no way in the world." He said, "No way in the world Bob Cousy would have bust my ass." Right? Then they asked Othello Harrington. And this is where I'm going to say I took offense. They asked I said Othello Harrington, Al Harrington, sorry. They asked Al Harrington, would Bob McAdoo bust your ass? And Al Harrington said, respectfully, no disrespect, I would give Bob McAdoo buckets. Stop. Al Harrington, former Knick, said he would give Bob McAdoo, former Knick, buckets. He would no. Let me. keep it a buck, he would bust his ass. Al Harrington, if you ever see this, Bob McAdoo would have swept the floor with you, man. You wouldn't have stood a chance. You wouldn't have stood a chance against Bob McAdoo. That's a fact. I never played in the NBA. All I did was play in the parks, tried out for my JV team when I was in high school. Decided I didn't want to play JV because I wanted to get money. And when I say get money, I wanted to get a job, right? But I played against some cats in the park during the 80s and 90s. And believe me, Al Harrington, if you ever see this, matter of fact, I'm going to chop this up and tag Al Harrington in this. Bob McAdoo would have gave you buckets. Not just gave you buckets, he would have destroyed Al Harrington. Al Harrington? Decent player he was in the NBA, but he might have been like overstating, like himself, being a little bit too confident, if you know what I mean. So they go back to Gilbert and they ask Gilbert, Arenas I'm talking about, would Allen Iverson bust your ass? To me, he completely dodged that question. Yo, you know Allen Iverson would bust your ass, Gilbert Arenas. Stop playing. Yeah, you got buckets, but Gilbert Arenas. Allen Iverson was giving it to like numerous players in the NBA. And hold up. Let me stop. Let me not stop there. Gilbert Arenas then made the statement that anything, any player who played in the NBA from whatever year the NBA started up until 1980, there was no comparison. They couldn't hang. And I'm going to add a little gasoline to the fire. I'm going to say he was talking about all the 80s. Right? No, let me stop. Let me chill. Let me not be an instigator. He did say up until 1980 because he knew Jordan came in 19. Come on. Yo, Gilbert. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird was in the league in the before 1980. Junior Bridgman. Are you kidding me? Like, yo. Bernard King was in the NBA before 1980. Ray Williams, Michael Ray Richardson, Tiny Archibald would have smoked Gilbert Arenas. Are you kidding me? Yo, this whole narrative that certain players couldn't play in certain decades. Yo, it's the game of basketball. Certain playing styles are different, yeah. But if you do it at a high level, it's still a high level on how you do it, right? I remember playing ball. We used to play, and I swear this man had to be about. He had to be about. Yo, I'm just gonna say he was about in his 60s. At this time, I'm in my 20s. So, he was in that era watching Bob Cousy, Sam Jones, like he was in that era. And when I think about his game right now, it wasn't real flashy, but I mean, I swore he knew the fundamentals. And then I later learned something from him. By that time, I wasn't even a player that I was from like 16, from when I started playing to me being 16, 17. I was in my 20s, but I learned something from him. And he was in his 60s. He was giving us buckets. And I remember playing, oh man, I can't think of his name, playing pickup with this guy that was a former Knick. Yo, he put a move on me. He was a former Knickerbocker. I can't think of his name. I'll come back on next Sunday. I'm gonna tell you his name. But he was a former Knickerbocker. I played against him. We was running pickup in the gym. He put a move on me that made me dizzy. He turned me around. I thought the man like uh snapped his fingers and disappeared. Like blinked his eyes and did some, like bewitched I dream of genie shit on me. I was lost. So miss me with that, like guys in the 80s, guys in the 70s and the beginning of the 80s couldn't hang with the guys in the 90s and the 2000s. Right? Even down to JJ Redick when he was disrespecting that Bob Cousy era again. Like Walt Clyde Frazier would have swept the court. Like, I mean, treated JJ Redick like a broom. Treated JJ Redick like a broom. Now I see why these former players disrespect and say these players in the NBA right now couldn't have played in my era. I see why Charles Barkley say they couldn't have played in my era. I see why Kenny Smith say they couldn't have played in my era. Because these guys honestly think because they on TV more, doing commercials more, making more money, that they're better than those players from back in the day. You got it twisted. Gilbert Arenas got it twisted. Al Harrington got it twisted. Al, I swear, anybody walking the street that's, oh man, between if they 40 years old, if they 40, from 40 to 70, 80, from 40 years old on, they know Al Harrington couldn't have done anything with Bob McAdoo. People know Gilbert Arenas would have got swept 8 off the court by Tiny Archibald. Stop it. And JJ Redick, look, Clyde and those guys, Clyde Frazier would have destroyed JJ Redick. I'm going on paper and saying Bob Cousy would have done it to JJ Redick. And then the ludicrous statement of Gilbert Arenas saying, the guys, anything below 1980, starting with the 80s and below, they couldn't compete. It's ridiculous. Pete Maravich would have ate up the NBA, the current NBA. Gotta be kidding me. Right? Guys, is crazy. But at the end of the day, hey, look, it's another Sunday, beautiful Sunday. This is Talking Trash with your man DU. Oh, yeah, I, I want you to enjoy your Sunday. Have a great day. And look, I'm going to holler at y'all next Sunday. Take care. Have a great one.